The main man.
Certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day.
Brilliant.
So,
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Rankin. It's going to be a fun one today. We're taking a topic we've done before, and it's going to be redux with a different panel. But this time, during Martin Scorsese, we've got Dan Scabell. And Dan, how's it going?
It's going great. I guess we're doing this in honor of Killers of the Flower Moon, which I didn't like as much as most people.
Also, here we've got Richie. Richie, how's it going?
yeah, pretty good. I'm looking forward. Martin Scorsese is my favorite directors. Looking forward to talking about it, and also trying to entertain a puppy in the process. But can we fluff over the bed, you idiot? No, yeah. So yeah,
We got a mystery guest panelist in there, Richie's dog.
I mean, normally it's my dog, so it's a change for have someone else.
Everybody's in their bedroom except for me.
And last but not least, we got Jonathan. Jonathan, how's it going?
I'm doing great. We're going to talk about Martin Scorsese, my favorite director this Halloween weekend. Strange reason, but hey, he does have a couple of, thrillers. If you think about it, you can watch during that spooky season. One may be brought up, maybe another one, maybe not, but we'll see. I think there's a lot of gems in his filmography, and I think it may be a quicker episode than you think. Well, we'll see. I think it's really the last 2 or 3 spots that we'll argue about, but let's do this.
Oh yeah, no, it's one of those ones like as I said in the polls, like, yeah, my planning was great. I whatever reason I made up a poll, messed up the dates of my document. I've got all the polls like, oh well, I'll do it this, then why not? We'll still do a Halloween episode next week in the first week in November because why not? But with that, how the show works is each go around in the panel and nominate a movie we think belongs on a top 12 list, and then everyone else will say yes or no to it. Because we've got an even amount of panel, we really had supposed to have one more person, but they had to work in the end. It'll bet the person nominated will come down to the other 3 people on the panel whether it makes the list or not. But Dan, we go to you first. What's the first movie you bring up?
Well, I mean, I'm a massive Martin Scorsese is my favorite director of all time. Robert De Niro is my favorite actor of all time. Al Pacino is my second favorite actor of all time. So these types of movies that Martin Scorsese have made are really in my wheelhouse. And even some of his non-gangster crime type movies are in my wheelhouse. But I'm going to go with one. Everybody knows that I'm a massive sports fan, and I have had a really tough upbringing when I was a kid, and my father was not the nicest person growing up and how he treated us and my mother and stuff. And a movie that really resonated with me as a little kid, because I saw it when I was 6 years old, that really affected me a lot and affected me as far as being a film critic and being a fan of Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro was Raging Bull. I just feel like this person is like a person that, he has this thing where he is an absolute monster in the ring. And then when he's at home, he's the same way. He's got this paranoia about him, and he's got this kind of like, I don't know. I think you'd be taking medication today if you were Jake LaMotta. He had a lot of problems. I thought Robert De Niro really knocked his role out of the park about who he was paranoid about his brother. Did he mess with his wife? And then, back, I guess, in the 60s, you're allowed to mess with 16-year-old girls and marry them and take them home, make them your wife, whatever, yell at your wife because she cooks the steak too long or whatever. The black and white cinematography, the editing by Thelma Schoonmaker, just the score. And my favorite line of the whole movie is, towards the end, he goes, "You never got me down, Ray. You never got me down." And so I have to go with Raging Bull, my favorite of his filmography.
Richie, what do you say about Raging Bull?
Yeah, that's probably the first one I was going to bring up. I think it's I think it's great. Yeah, for all the reasons Dan mentioned, I think I think it's one of his best movies, one of his best performances, which is a lot given his his resume. Yeah, I think it's one you can't do a list without uh, you can't do a list without bring this up. So yeah, absolutely, I would say yes.
Um, Jonathan, what do you say about Raging Bull?
Enough said. Yes. Let's move on.
um,
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a dub. Yeah, duh.
I mean, I'm glad you two suggested. I haven't seen it. This is probably one of my biggest blind spots that I've got of Scorsese. And I would have watched it this week if it was streaming anywhere, or I'll go find it.
It's
But
not on
it, like,
Amazon Prime, Malcolm.
not for me.
Oh wow, oh man.
But yeah. That Richie, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
All right. I might be stealing someone's fun to hear given their nickname, but I'll bring it up because it's my favorite Scorsese movie. I'm going to bring up Wolf of Wall Street. Uh, uh, Wolf of Wall Street is my favorite Scorsese movie. This movie's a lot of fun, but also a lot of I do feel like some people, there are people who kind of maybe you know, they're getting the wrong message when by kind of putting him up as like a role model status. But I think, that being said, I think it's a wonderful performance by Leonardo DiCaprio. I think he should have got the Oscar for this movie. And yeah, other than The Revenant. But yeah, and I think it's cool. Yeah, Jonah Hill just took the minimum SAG sort of like wages that he could to work with Scorsese, and yeah, he does one of the best performances of his career. I think it's amazing, and yeah, it's just bonkers. The 3 hour runtime just goes so quickly. You don't feel it. Great sort of small appearance there by Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, great. Like if you watch the trailer, great trailer, but with a Black Skinhead by Kanye in the background. That's one of my favorite trailers for a while. Yeah, just everything about this works, and yeah, it's fantastic. Obviously, great. Probably breakout from like Margot Robbie, and that's how she, um, you know, it, moved on to big things now. So yeah, I think we can't have a Scorsese list without putting this on the list. So, Wolf of Wall Street.
Jonathan, what do you say about the Wolf of Wall Street?
100% yes again. I'll add a little bit that yeah, the Leonardo DiCaprio, this is still my favorite performance from him. Now having seen Killers of the Flower Moon, this is still my favorite performance, especially even his best collaboration with Scorsese. He just brings it all in this movie, literally. And of course, without this movie, yeah, I think she was in About Time in a supporting role, but this is the movie that really launched Margot Robbie into stardom. Yeah, basically, Scorsese kind of launched her career in a way, and yeah, and then she's off to do bigger and better things. Well, I don't know about better with Wolf of Wall Street, to be honest. I mean, what is possibly better? Okay, maybe Once Upon a Time, maybe, but she's barely in it. But
I, Tanya.
you can make a case, for an equally great performance. Yeah, but yeah, everybody's great. Everybody's dynamic. The 3 hour runtime, like Richie said, goes by very quickly. A lot of iconic lines, probably, and also with I think the most F words in a movie. So, yeah, 100% yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
We're
and
good.
funny enough, just to correct you on something, Jonathan, Wolf of Wall Street is actually not the highest movie that has the word fuck in it. It is Swearnet the movie.
It's
Wolf of
what?
Wall Street.
Well,
Wolf of Wall Street comes in third. The documentary called Fuck is second.
Yeah, I feel like fuck doesn't count.
okay,
I
all
feel
right.
like that doesn't count because obviously that was that's about the same. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not gonna count that.
But I mean, look, if Austin was there, he probably would have done the exact same thing. Literally, because I'm pretty sure
Actually,
he's brought that up on a tournament fights as well. But yeah, Wolf of Wall Street is a good movie. I'm not as high on it as everyone else's, but I still really like it. And yeah, so it's still an easy yes for me. But Dan, what are your thoughts about the Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah, funny enough, I remember Jordan Belfort. I was a kid growing up, and I remember the commercials, especially that one where you see him filming the commercial where he gets off the plane and he's walking towards the camera and he's talking. I remember that like it was yesterday. And I said, this guy is a crook. He's going to get caught one of these days. And then when they made that, they were going to make that movie. It's like, oh my God, they're actually making a movie about this guy. Oh my God, I can't believe it. But I actually thought the movie was really good. It's in my top 10 Scorsese films. I mean, I think it's one of his better films. That Quaalude scene where he's driving and all of a sudden you see what actually happened compared to what he thinks happened, was probably up there with up there with some of the great scenes of Martin Scorsese's career. So yeah, it's in my top 10 of Scorsese films. So I definitely would put it up there, put it in the top 12.
But I think Wolf of Wall Street is going to make the list. And last thing I'll say is, surprisingly, Uncut Gems is fourth on the list, and it's about 9 squares away from topping Wolf of Wall Street.
No surprise.
But Jonathan, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
This may be the quickest yeses maybe in history of this show. Goodfellas. Goodfellas is a masterpiece, and I don't say it lightly. And De Niro, Liotta, Pesci in his Oscar-winning performance, Lorraine Bracco, Paul Sorvino, and then there's a bevy of talented actors in that ensemble that really bolstered the movie into high excellence and memorable cinema. And a lot of people declared he's either one of the best or the best mob movie ever made. So, Goodfellas.
But yeah, Goodfellas is great. I like it. It's an easy yes for me because I think it is a really good movie. And yeah, it's I think it might one of my first Scorsese was I watched that for the first time recently. But yeah, I like it. And it's great. But Dan, what are your thoughts about Goodfellas?
What the weird thing about this, Jonathan, is I've been hearing people say that they think the Killers of the Flower Moon is Scorsese's best film. And I said, have you seen Goodfellas? Yes.
Like best film period? Best film period?
Period. Goodfellas is the best Scorsese film, period. And it's in my personal top 10 films of all time. I just think he brings it all together. And, I think time, we always look at time. I think 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, 30 years. We look at Dances with Wolves and Kevin Costner. And then 20, 30 years down the road, really? Is that Dances with Wolves really going to beat Goodfellas for Best Picture and Best Director? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
30 years later, now you look at it and you say, how did that happen? You know what I mean? And it's ridiculous. But yeah, Goodfellas is a phenomenal film. The ending scene where he's driving around, get the guns, stir the sauce, pick up the cousin, look at the helicopters. Is there a helicopter following me around? I mean, it's just, yelling at Karen. The cops are following him. Phenomenal scene. The Copacabana scene, where they're going through the Copacabana with And So You Kissed Me by the Chandrels. Phenomenal chef's kiss. Two of the great scenes in movie history in Goodfellas. Yeah, this is easy on the list. This might actually win the list.
And Richie, what do you say about Goodfellas?
So, Dan, did you like it? I didn't get the sense.
Yeah, this is a phenomenal film.
No, I'm just yeah. I always do this. So this is pretty easy. Yeah. I only own two Scorsese. Only own two Scorsese movies, and this is one of them. So yes, yeah. So absolutely.
Yeah, that's a funny story that he brought up. That he went from Goodfellas to Home Alone, and he was still in that Tommy DeVito mode during that making of Home Alone. That was really funny.
Yeah,
that's a good year. For him. Give him credit. That's a hell of a year.
Yeah, it is a good year.
And Goodfellas was number 20 on the list of most uses of the film.
We're gonna come across another one, I think.
Yeah. No, there's at least another Scorsese that's in the top 20. So for the first one, I'm going to bring up one which doesn't actually get talked about as often, but I think it's because I think a lot of people forget it was Scorsese that did it. And it's the movie Hugo. Hugo is a delightful kids movie. And it's one of those ones like that. You wouldn't think it was Scorsese because the whole tone and so on it feels more Spielberg than Scorsese. I don't know if Spielberg was supposedly originally attached to it. I don't know, but it's one of those ones that if you're just watching it and not knowing who directed it, I don't blame anyone for thinking Spielberg before Scorsese. But I think it's a really good movie. I think Asa Butterfield? Yeah. Yeah, I think he's great. And in the lead, I don't know what he's doing now. I don't think he's been in a lot lately.
Sex Education on Netflix.
Yeah. He was almost Spider-Man.
Very close to being Spider-Man, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a great movie. I think it's a really good story as well. And yeah, but Dan, what are your thoughts about Hugo?
Well, let's have story time with Dan Skip Allen here, guys. Have a little bit of story time, okay, guys? Okay, so there's this little girl. Her name is Francesca. She read a book that had a lot of pictures in it, but it also had a lot of words, and it had a story about preservation of film. And she said to herself, I think my dad could make this into a movie. So, hey, Dad. Her dad happened to be Martin Scorsese. I think you ought to read this. And it blew him away. He went and bought the rights to the book right away. And that was going to be his next movie that he made after Shutter Island. But Martin Scorsese, being Martin Scorsese, he wasn't just going to make a normal kind of kids movie with the preservation of film attached to it or a subplot in there. No, he was going to take his first foray into 3D and make it one of the best 3D movies you'll ever see.
I'll agree on that one.
And that is what Hugo is. And that's why Hugo is one of Martin Scorsese's best films, not just a kid's film. It's not just a film about preservation. I mean, it's got a phenomenal cast of supporting characters: Sacha Baron Cohen, Richard Griffiths. I mean, Ben Kingsley's amazing in it. Some Harry Potter people, definitely 3 Harry Potter people are in it. But you also got Chloe Grace Moretz is in there in one of her early roles. And I have to say, you've got to see this movie in 3D. If you have not, there's a 4K out now in 3D. You can watch it. You'll be like, wow, this is incredible, And it's a love letter to movies is what it really is. And he has really dedicated himself to preservation of movies. And so I definitely say everybody who's watching or hasn't seen this movie, go and see Hugo. Phenomenal movie. Big yes for me.
Richie, what do you say about Hugo?
Yeah, to be fair, if you're a British actor in your 50s, you've been in Harry Potter. I feel like every British actor at a certain age has been in one of those movies. But yeah, no,
Judy Dench hasn't.
huh?
No,
Oh yeah,
no, right.
yeah. No, she's too,
One of
she's
the
got,
few.
she did Atticus Finch. That was good. Anyway, uh, uh, but yeah, I was going to bring this up, but I didn't expect to bring this to talk about this early. But yeah, I was going to bring this up a bit later. Yeah, you forget that he directed this movie, but it's a great it's just a great movie, and yeah, I think it's worth. I think it's worth this list. And sorry, that was my PlayStation. But yeah, so I'd absolutely agree. I think Dan said it all. Really, I think he's going to say a lot. He's going to have all the passion, and it's going to be like, yeah, agree with him. Yep, yeah, that's what he said. So yeah, I'll say yes.
And Jonathan, what do you say about Hugo?
So this is one of the three spots that I alluded to earlier that I thought we were going to fight about, and I'm glad that Hugo is going to make the list because I think it's 100% yes. I think it's a really good movie. It was one of my favorite films of 2011, and I saw it recently, I think last year, and it holds up. No, 2 years ago, but it holds up. It holds up really well. It's basically one of two Scorsese's love letters to the movies. And it's a beautiful movie about the movies basically, and it doesn't start out that way, and I like that. I thought it was mostly like just a kid being you know living in a train station of sorts in that clock tower, and it's about that fixing this robot assisted by Ben Kingsley, but no, it's really a love letter to the movies at the end, and it's beautiful. And I think Ben Kingsley doesn't get a lot of credit. I think that it is one of his most humanistic performances of his career. And once he, introduces his movie, probably in the third act or the climax, actually, it's a great scene. It's a great moment. And I love this movie, Hugo. Yeah, I love this movie. It should make the list.
Hugo is going to make the list, and Dan, we go back to you for your next nomination.
Well, my personal second favorite Scorsese film is about a person who's kind of a loss. He's lost, and he's trying to find his place in the world, and he thinks it's kind of like, well, let's go try to see if this girl who's working on this political campaign will want to date me, and I'll kind of clean up my act. Or wait, maybe I'll go save this little girl who's a prostitute and she's being lorded over by this pimp, and he doesn't have a direction in his life, and he's a war veteran who comes home, and he has some PTSD a little bit, but he also has issues relating to people and relating to the world. And so he can't sleep much, so he decides to be a cab driver, and that's once again Robert De Niro as Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver. I think it's one of the greatest films of all time. Once again, I'm going to say greatest. I'm going to say masterpiece. You're going to hear these words in some, because to me that's what they are. To me, I mean, Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, and Raging Bull are all in my top 10, 12 films of all time. So. And I feel a kinship with Travis Bickle. I know it's not, oh, that's weird. I actually do in a lot of ways, because I feel alone a lot of the times, and I feel like I'm lost in society, and society doesn't understand me, and I feel a kinship with Travis Bickle. And this movie really resonates with me when it comes to, I've had issues with employers on work because they don't understand me, and I have health issues and things. I think we didn't understand the things he was going through back then as we do with people now, with anxiety and depression and things like that. And I think this is a forebear of things to come in history with medication and unfortunately some of the negatives in society that have happened, and there's a great scene where a guy, he picks up one of his fares. He picks up this guy. Hey, I want you to drive over here, and I just want you to park over here on the side of the road. You see that girl up in the window? You see that girl up in the window? That's my wife. She's up there. screw another guy. And it turns out that was Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
But it wasn't supposed to be Martin Scorsese. It was supposed to be somebody else. The guy dropped out of the picture and ended up being Martin Scorsese in the role, which is kind of a crazy scene with him. And it's a funny scene in a way, you know? It's like, wow, this guy's talking about his wife being banged by some other guy. But all right, yes, Taxi Driver.
Richie, what do you say about Taxi Driver?
Yeah, I say absolutely yes. Yeah, you got phenomenal film. I got to it late, but yeah, it's I think Martin Scorsese presents like complex characters really well, and yeah, you can't have a list without Taxi Driver on it. I don't think. Charles Pickles, one of the sort of more iconic film characters, in my opinion, of all time. So yeah, I would say absolutely yes.
And Jonathan, what do you say about Taxi Driver?
I mean, you can listen to the score all day, basically, while you're driving around or you're just walking around. I mean, that score really sets the mood to your walk or run, that atmosphere. I don't know if it's going to be as dirty, compared to the New York in that movie. Nevertheless, this is a great movie. 100% yes. De Niro, again, gives one of his best performances. Also, some great supporting performances from Sybil Shepherd, Jodie Foster, Harvey Keitel, and a little cameo from Albert Brooks. He's kind of funny. And Peter Boyle.
He's a jerk.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a masterpiece. I mean, yeah, compared to Joker, yeah, it's just no. But yeah, Taxi Driver should make it on the list. Duh.
Taxi Driver's an easy yes for me as well. I think it's a good movie. It's one I haven't gone back to in a while. Been meant to give it a rewatch and just but I remember liking it, and yes, so it's still going to be yes. It's going to make the list. And Rich, we go to you for your next nomination.
Oh yeah, I'll bring up one that also the Joker borrowed heavily. It was heavily influenced. That heavily influenced the Joker to the point of and that's King of Comedy. I think King of Comedy is a great film. It sort of is like for range, like your dark comedy. I think it's great. I think Robert De Niro is phenomenal in this movie, and yeah, it's really good. And I don't know what to say about it. It's just I think it's fantastic, and it's sort of a different role for De Niro at the time, and yeah, he knocks it out of the park, and yeah, so and I think I think it's deserving of this list. I think maybe a little bit underrated at this point, but yeah, I think King of Comedy is like one of his better movies as well. And it's sort of the big path of like sort of there's other Scorsese fodder of like your gangster, your sort of your more violent ones, but it's still really good. So I'll go King of Comedy.
Jonathan, what do you say about the King of Comedy?
I haven't seen this one in a while. However, this movie has been registering on many people's minds since Joker, and favorably so, because this is a very interesting portrait of a sad man, a lonely man, again, living with his mother, just wanting to be famous, wanting to have his spotlight. And it's an interesting, oddball, dark film with him and Sandra Bernhard kidnapping Jerry Lewis. And it leads to you can debate if it's memorably funny, but a memorable climax with Rupert Pumpkin just giving his comedic spiel, and then it ends on an ambiguous note. I think it's not as ambiguous as many people think, but on an ambiguous note that is quite interesting. But it's on my list. It's 100% yes, and I need to go back to it, but because it lingers in your mind after it's over. So yeah, I'll go yes on King of Comedy.
But I mean, Dan was talking about taxi driving, doing the whole big spiel, like, I would written in the pipe that King of Comedy was, I thought that spiel was going, then he said Hostages, like, oh no, it's the other one that's um, but but yeah, once again, it's been a while since I've seen King of Comedy. I think last time I saw it was back when Joker was coming out, because kind of wanted to watch it and that, like the bit where Rupert Huggins dancing on stairs, and there's pretty, nope, that's joking. But yeah, no, I like King Comedy. I think it's good. And yeah, it's the easiest for me. Dan, what are your supports about King Comedy?
Yeah, I absolutely love the King of Comedy. I think De Niro is amazing, and it's the irony is that De Niro is playing the Jerry Lewis character in Joker, and
Okay.
honestly, he's the Joker in the King of Comedy. So he flips roles in the two films, and it just I just think, just it also talks about like celebrity and are these people really who they pretend to be on TV and in the movies that we see these people? Jerry Lewis, for whatever he is, he did the Jerry Lewis telethon and all that stuff for many, many years. He gave so much money away for charity and raised so much money. But I love it how he was portrayed as like kind of a jerk in this, and I have friends that are big autograph seekers and celebrity seekers and stuff. And some of these celebrities really are jerks, and they're not as nice as they come across on in reality, and so this really points the finger at don't put your idols up here. Don't
meet your hero.
put them on a pedestal, because you never know, you might meet them someday. They might really upset you because they may not be nice people. You know what I mean? And I've met some wrestlers recently, and they weren't the nicest people. And I always thought, oh wow, that's too bad, because I always liked them, and it makes you second think of some of these celebrities. And I met a bunch of celebrities this weekend. And but yeah, I absolutely love the King of Comedy. I think it's one of De Niro's greatest performances, along with Raging Bull and Taxi Driver. I would put these three and Godfather as his top 4 performances of his career. So big yes for me.
King Comedy is going to make the list. And we go over to Jonathan. What is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Okay. You know what? I'm going to save that movie for you, Malcolm. I'm going to anticipate that you're going to bring that up. Okay, so I'm going to bring up this movie. I don't talk about this movie a lot, but since it's a Martin Scorsese movie, and also the subjects that don't deal with it as much, I'm going to bring up The Aviator. The Aviator, it's basically the Howard Hughes biopic. It's a grand scale film, and Leonardo DiCaprio, once again, he's a Hollywood filmmaker / producer with OCD, who basically takes his time with his movie Hell's Angels, and I think it was in the process for 3 years, because at first it was like a silent film that was, received great reviews, but then he just converted it to sound once again. And then later, as his journey progresses, he's involved with a relationship with Katharine Hepburn, played wonderfully by Cate Blanchett, she's phenomenal. And then later on, Ava Gardner, played by Kate Beckinsale. So, and then he gets his obsession with airplanes thanks to this movie, and he becomes an airline businessman for TWA, and has a rivalry with Pan Am chairman Juan Trippe, played by Alec Baldwin. So this is a sprawling biopic that captures the glory days of the Roaring 20s and the 30s of Hollywood, and it also deals with his personal life as it diminishes the glamorous style of Howard Hughes into a sad man living with this germophobia, basically, when he's quarantined and isolated from people. And it actually traces back to that first scene, and it ends with the last scene with Howard Hughes and isolated from all the noise. So I'm gonna bring up The Aviator, and I think this should make the list. Definitely with one of his best performances here.
I don't know which movie you were anticipating I was going to bring up, but this was going to be the next one I was going to bring up.
Oh no, there's another one. There's another movie that you bring up a lot, but yeah.
But yeah, I love The Aviator. I think The Aviator is great. And um, and yeah, I think it's a really good movie. I think Leo is probably the perfect choice for Howard Hughes personally. And I would argue that this is the one Leo should have won an Oscar for personally, because I think he's just
There was
brilliant
one.
in the role.
Mhm.
And yeah, but Dan, what are your thoughts about The Aviator?
Yeah, I think this is a return to form for Scorsese after the Gangs of New York. I don't think Gangs of New York was up to the quality that he wanted it to be. It was a good movie, don't get me wrong, but I think this is the kind of movie that was up to the quality of what I consider top Scorsese, like Goodfellas, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, those type of movies. Wolf of Wall Street is in that mix. I think Gangs of New York isn't, and he really saw something in Leo in that movie, and he put him in this role, and he has a transformation in this role, and that's the thing about it that's really fascinating about the character of Howard Hughes and the supporting cast. I mean, just another love letter to the movies, and
Yeah.
whoever thought that you needed clouds to show movement, and I love that. I mean, it's such an obvious thing, right? But now you wouldn't think that, but wow, they needed clouds to show that the planes are actually moving. And then in California, they couldn't find the clouds. That was just brilliant. Some of the great things by Ian Holm. Ian Holm was.
Yeah, he's great.
I love John C. Reilly in it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many good supporting cast people. And yeah, Aviator is top tier Scorsese in my opinion. Arguably top 5, top 6 Scorsese, top 7 in my opinion. So yes, for me.
And Richie, what do you say about The Aviator?
Yeah, look, I like it. I don't love it, but like, yeah, I mean, in a list of 12, I think I think it deserves to be here. Like when we rank it, I might just if I might it might be on a sort of lower tier, but I do like it a lot. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I'd say yes.
The MPAA scene is hilarious. I think it's definitely one of Scorsese's funniest scenes in a movie, where he has to basically defend his position of a movie. But
Memories.
yeah.
But that The Aviator is going to make the list, and yeah, a Nolan version of a Nolan vibe about Howard Hughes starring Jim Carrey would have been interesting.
Wow, that
in a way, he kind of made it this year. Kind of.
Yeah.
Well,
in a way.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a couple moves I think are probably going to come up later so I'm going to bring up one that I think is really good, and it is another one that's very different to his Scorsese's usual stuff that he does, and I'm bringing out the Dead. And I think Bringing Out the Dead is a really good movie. I love it. Nicolas Cage is a paramedic, like working hard to try and well, yeah, it's one of those ones that now is just one of those ones like this is one of those movies that nowadays, especially in make a COVID, that it really brings back bad memories of 2020. But I think it's one of those ones. I think this movie, I think, is just a really good movie. I think the way it's done is just really good, especially the fact that like Nick Cage's character is like is in a rut after not having saved any patients in months and all that. But that he yeah. So Dan, what are your thoughts about Bringing Out the Dead?
I will say this, Malcolm. The more I've watched Bring Out the Dead, the more I've liked it. I've watched it. I watched it a long time ago, 20 something years ago, almost 25 years ago, and and I didn't really like it when I first saw it. And then as I've watched it, I've had people talk to me about it. I've liked it more. You know what? The Dispatchers. If you keep your ears on the Dispatchers, one of them Scorsese, the other one's Queen Latifah. They play the Dispatchers. And then your boy Cliff Curtis, I believe, is in it. Malcolm, one of your favorites. But I with the list of 12. I have to say, Malcolm, unfortunately, I have this like down at 15 or so, or 16, somewhere in there. And so with the list of 12, I'm going to have to say no to Bringing Out the Dead. But it's not like I don't like the movie. And as times have gone by, I have liked it more.
Richie, what do you say about Bringing Out the Dead?
I've only seen this movie once, and it was around the time it came out, so I don't really remember a lot of it. I do vaguely remember liking it. So, but like, just because I have more, like, you know, I've seen this ones that we get to bring out that I've seen more, and I'm sort of more got, you know, more fond memories of. I'll say no, but I might give it another watch.
And Jonathan, what do you say about Bringing Out the Dead?
Well, we're talking about the top 12 Martin Scorsese movies, and he's basically the top of the industry, in my opinion. And even I like the movie. It's more of a cathartic religious experience than it is I don't know if it's a crime movie. I don't think it's a crime movie, but it's like it's an exploration of Cage's character in which he's supposedly a savior for the people, but he's not really a savior. He thinks that he should be punished for not saving them, like punished for people's prevention from salvation. Cliff Curtis is really good in it, actually. I did not recognize him as the drug dealer. I do like that Christmas Carol structure to the three paramedics. I believe it is Ving Rhames, John Goodman, Tom Sizemore. Those three. Yeah, I like that. I did not love Mark Anthony's performance, though. I think he was way over the top. And also the pacing. It is too reminiscent of Taxi Driver in a way. And I think it's all over the map in terms of pacing, especially in the second half. But I don't think it's his best work. But it is a good movie that I think people should check out if they want to, be a completionist. But I'm going to vote no. I don't think it's one of the best movies of his filmography.
Dan, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, you all know I'm a Boston guy. I'm born and raised in Massachusetts, and I follow gangsters in Boston. Whitey Bulger. I've read multiple books on Whitey Bulger. I followed him. He was number 2 on the FBI's most wanted list, and when I heard that Martin Scorsese was going to remake Infernal Affairs into a film and turn it into like a Boston thing, I was like, oh, well, this intrigues me. And have the police officer be the bad guy and have the Irish mobster character be the good guy and have them swap positions, and then have Jack Nicholson, the first time he ever worked with Jack Nicholson, be the gangster, the Whitey Bulger type of gangster, Frank Costello. I was just like beside myself that year. And then the year before, how Hustle and Flow had that song that won the Oscar, and those guys got up on stage, said two Academy Awards for us and none for Scorsese. That really pissed me off, and I think it pissed the Academy off too. And it just happened to be a perfect storm of effects that were going on at that time. That he had a great movie out, and he had won the Academy Awards, and so he wins Best Director and Best Picture for The Departed. And then you had like Mark Wahlberg, which was hilarious in the movie. He was incredible. It just shows you Mark Wahlberg had acting chops where he could be a good actor. Anthony Anderson's in it. Alec Baldwin's in it. Martin Sheen. Just such a phenomenal cast. And I mean, you guys left you let me do 3 of my top 5 Scorsese films. I ended up doing 3 of the 5 of my top 5. So I'm going to do The Departed. And I know people in this community don't like The Departed, but I don't know how you can't like it. I think it's a phenomenal film. So that's my opinion on that. And hopefully we get it in.
Richie, what do you think about The Departed?
That was the next one I'm gonna bring up. I was gonna bring up. So yeah, it's one of the other ones I own. I think it's a great movie. I was blown away by it. It made me go out and actually get the Infernal Affairs trilogy. Love that too. Most of them, and it's a great movie, great ensemble, and yeah, it's a weird trivia that out of all the actors, Mark Wahlberg is the one that got nominated for it.
Mhm.
But and I believe the Jack Nicholson character was meant to was that did he want De Niro for that, but he turned it down or something? Was it? I don't think Nicholson.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that.
I don't think Nicholson was the initial choice.
Really?
But he was great. I loved it. Obviously, I love I love the soundtrack. I love that Dropkick Murphys. Should be got to Boston.
Yeah.
It's a banger. So yeah, absolutely, yes.
Jonathan, what are your thoughts about The Departed?
I mean, look, I don't know all of The Departed. I mean, I only miss the ones that I miss. I mean, oh, you mean the movie? Okay. That's a lot of Departed people.
Departed.
This is a great movie. It's been brought up in the episodes I've been in, and Damon is just, God, he's a snake in that movie. He's awful. Well, he's great, but he plays an awful person. I think I don't understand. Like, we don't talk about how great DiCaprio is in this movie. I think he's definitely underrated in this film. And he was nominated for Blood Diamond, which is a great performance. But in retrospect, I think this is a better performance than Blood Diamond. He should have gotten nominated for The Departed than it is for Blood Diamond. I mean, I wouldn't be upset about it, but I thought he was equally great to the task. But yeah, it's 100% yes for me. I knew that this was the movie that I alluded to that Malcolm was going to bring up, because I know he loves this movie too, and obviously going to be a sweep. But I forgot that Dan loves this movie as well. But it's 100% yes for The Departed.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the ones that's like, yeah, I'll leave on the table for someone else. Because I knew it was bound to come up eventually anyway. And it's just one of those ones like I wanted to bring up some movies which I didn't think may come up if I didn't bring them up. So, but yeah, I like The Departed. I think it's a lot of fun. I rewatched it this year for something. I can't remember what it was now, but yeah, and yeah, Richie, like Robert De Niro was approached to play Nixon's character, but he declined and to go to direct The Good Shepherd. And apparently Ray Liotta was also approached for a role in the movie as well.
That would have been interesting.
But
yeah.
Well, I mean, it doesn't say but Ray Liotta was going to be Nicholson's character, but it was just a role. Like
I bet Martin Sheen's role. What do you think, Martin Sheen's role?
I don't know. It doesn't specify on Wikipedia.
Maybe Alec Baldwin role.
Alec Baldwin, yeah.
It's hard to replace them because they all killed him. So
they're all after the fact. Like, how could you take anybody out of it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be an easy yes for me for The Departed. And yeah, so it's going to make the list. Richie, was the next movie you're going to bring up?
Okay, so I mean, I think both of them are going to get mentioned at some point. What other Joe Pesci gangster film, a crime film, are we going to bring up? Going to bring up? Or are we going to bring it up? You know what?
You're going on 4K, right?
Yeah, I'm going to bring. You know what? Because I think it's impressive because he had to be talked into coming back, and he still delivered a basketball performance. I'm going to bring back up The Irishman. I think The Irishman is just a fantastic film. Yes, first sort of foray to Netflix, and Pesci does. I mean, De Niro is great as well, and they're all good, but like Pesci especially he just knocks it out of the park, and given. I'm so glad he agreed to do this. But yeah, it's a great film. Yeah, there was. Yeah, it was a lot of whinging like when it came out, like how long it is, but I'm like, dude, like it flew by for me. So yeah, I don't, yeah, not, but yeah, it's a great film. So yeah, yeah, I'll nominate The Irishman.
I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but I think it's about 10 minutes shorter than Killers of the Flower Moon. But
It's a few. I think it's a few
Jo-
minutes. Yeah.
Malcolm, watch it. It's on Netflix.
Oh, Killers. He was
I knew
alluding to Killers.
I was talking about Killers of the Flower Moon. That's not on Netflix.
Alluding to Killers.
Okay, my bad.
Jonathan, what do you say about The Irishman?
Yeah, this movie is like reuniting a rock star band. I mean, it's like reuniting De Niro, Pesci, Keitel, and yeah, those three players. But also you got Pacino, Ray Romano, out of all people, he's actually good in the movie. And Bobby Cannavale joining in. This movie, this is one of his most mature mob movies. Well, I think it's his most mature mob movie. I think it's a portrait of mob life in which it gets sadder for one character over time, where loneliness really creeps into your old age. And the second half, I think that's a masterclass of filmmaking. That second half of the movie, it's great. If the saddest mob movie ever, not anymore, if I may say so. After seeing Killers, if you think about it from mob perspectives, but I think this is a great movie. This was released in the year of great cinema, great cinema, 2019, and yeah, I think this is one of those movies where it just flows like an interesting story just told to you by a person that has an experience with the mob, obviously. And yeah, of course, Pesci. I mean, I think it probably next to Goodfellas, it is my favorite performance from him, or maybe next to Leo Getz. I don't know, but yeah, I think this is an excellent performance, and he deserved the nomination. I mean, maybe the win. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if he deserved the win, but yeah, yes to The Irishman. I love this movie as well.
The Irishman didn't win any Oscars. Like, but yeah.
0. Yeah. I'll be honest. Not many chances. No.
And
really, Joe Pesci for supporting actor, but that's pretty much it.
I mean, I agree with the directing and acting nominations for sure, but I don't think it deserved Best Picture. I didn't like the movie at one bit. I just thought it was boring. It's one of those ones like I really wasn't as invested in this too, and yeah, I know it. I just think Anna Paquin was wasted in the movie. Really, like she barely had anything to say, and it's
I highly disagree on that one. No.
She only had one line. But yeah. So yeah, it's a no for me for The Irishman. But Dan, what are your thoughts about The Irishman?
Yeah, I think Anna Paquin was more or less the conscience of us watching the movie. Mm-hmm. And as the people watching movies, like, no, you guys are doing wrong. You guys are doing the bad things and this and that and the other, and don't do this and don't. She was the conscience of her father in a way, and she begged Scorsese. She wanted to be in this movie. She begged to be in it. She wanted that role. She didn't care how small that role was. We know she won an Oscar at 12 years old for The Piano. But she hasn't really done a lot of great stuff since then. She's done some good stuff, but no, I just think the thing, if I had to nitpick The Irishman, is the CGI, the motion capture stuff, or whatever you want to call it. That stuff is a little wonky. But the movie itself, I think, is a phenomenal movie. I love the car scene where they're driving to kill Jimmy Hoffa, and they're talking about the fish. the fish and all this kind of stuff. And if you look closely, the guy in the back seat of the car and the while they're going to kill Hoffa, that's Jimmy Bugs. He's in Killers on the Flower Moon as the guy, as one of the I don't know, what was he a lawyer? Was he a lawyer or something? What was he?
I'll look at it later, but
that guy, the buggy looking guy with
I know what you're talking about.
That guy, yeah, he's in Killers of the Flower Moon as well, and he's funny. He's kind of funny in Killers of the Flower Moon. But yeah, I actually think Al Pacino and Robert De Niro are great together. Throw in Harvey Keitel and Joe Pesci into the mix. I think they're all really good. Ray Romano's good in this. Like you already said, Jesse Plemons, I liked him in his small role. And Stephen Graham. I'm telling you right now.
Oh, yeah.
Stephen Graham is a guy to look out for in the future.
Oh, yeah.
He was nominated for a BAFTA for Boiling Point or whatever it was called, where he played like a
chef,
Gordon Ramsay type. Yeah.
He's also there's a movie called This Is England. He's really good in that movie as well.
Stephen Graham is a guy to watch out for in the future. This guy is a really good actor. So yes, I'm going to say yes for The Irishman. It's in my 12.
With that, The Irishman's going to make the list. And go
he sounds so sad.
He sounds sad. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's him. Kelsey. Oh, Kelsey. In Killers. Oh, okay. I know who he is. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I had to look up, Sally Bug.
Yeah. But Jonathan, what's the next movie you're going to bring up?
It sounded so sad. It's like a funeral. Oh, The Irishman. Oh. Should I bring up the obvious one or not yet? Because there is one big one that we haven't mentioned. No, I'm going to take a swing for this one. I think this one will be brought up later. Obviously, this is a bigger Scorsese movie, but I'm going to bring up this one. I am going to bring up The Last Temptation of Christ. Yeah, I'm going to just phase out from the crime movies a little bit. Now, I watched and, I study, Catholic, I've been to Catholic school, but, I've been raised on knowing that Jesus Christ is the Almighty. And so when I heard about this movie, I know it was based on a book. And I heard that there was a lot of controversy at the time of release. You could watch the Siskel and Ebert review about The Last Temptation of Christ, where they actually give a great review of this movie. Obviously, 2 thumbs up. But this is an interesting human portrait of Jesus. What would he have? What would he be like if he had human thoughts, like pleasure, for example? And Scorsese takes us on a journey, about just Jesus, played by Willem Dafoe, who's great in it. Just struggling forms of temptation, fear, depression, lust. And it all spells out in the beginning where there's a disclaimer saying that the film is not based on the Gospels. And if you do know that, you know what kind of journey you're getting into with this movie. It is a bit of a slow burn, but I think it's a near masterfully directed and edited film by Scorsese and Thelma Schoonmaker, who obviously is a great contributor to all of his movies as well. I mean, she does a fantastic job editing movies like that.
Sting.
But to my point, David Bowie was actually good in it. And I like Peter Gabriel's edgy, soothing score as well. My only negative criticism is Harvey Keitel as Judas. I felt like he just strolled on set from another movie, and I don't know, he just felt like he was miscast, in my opinion. But other than that quibble, I think this is an interesting movie that I wanted to get away from the criminal side of this filmography. And I think it's a movie that people should check out.
Yeah, this is a movie I've heard a lot about. I just haven't seen it. And yeah, Dan, what are your thoughts about The Last Temptation of Christ?
Well, I've seen it multiple times, and your point that you say is a little quibble. Harvey Keitel is would you say Judas? He played. I thought he played Pontius Pilate. I
No,
guess
he played Judas. David Bowie played Pontius.
Okay, all right, yeah, yeah. He's playing this character with a New York accent. I said, how the hell can you play this character with a New York accent? How is he even cast in this role? It's ridiculous. He completely takes me out of the movie. I am out of the movie completely with that, listening to him talking in a New York accent as this guy. Like, give me a freaking break. And I don't think it's that good a movie overall. And I respect your opinion, Jonathan. I'm going to say no to this.
I mean, everyone's already having that kind of discussion about Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon.
Yeah, that's a similar thing. But
I'm gonna watch the movie first, and then.
Well, yeah, but
and I think there's a better in his religious trilogy, Jonathan. I believe there's a better movie that deserves to be on this list, other than The Last Temptation of Christ. I will say that.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, let's see. Let's see if it's brought up.
Yeah, I would have to abstain. I haven't seen it.
I should have gone with the other one. There was another one ahead of it, but yeah.
But yeah, it's on me for my next pick, and I'm going to bring up one I literally watched just before we went on air, and that is Cape Fear. It's one that's one of those ones like I went through my Scorsese list on Letterboxd, like this and to see if there's anything I hadn't seen, which probably will come up, and to watch, and there really wasn't that I could find. But then I remember that this was on Amazon Prime, so I watched it. And yeah, I haven't quite finished it, but from what I've seen, I'm really enjoying it so far, and I think it's a really good movie, and I think it's a really interesting kind of thriller type thing, and it definitely fits in with the season. But yeah, see what happens. Dan, what do you say about Cape Fear?
Counselor, come out wherever you are, counselor. Oh my God, is this freaking incredible or what? This is number 12 on my list, Malcolm. Number 12, because we're not going to be able to vote for Killers of the Flower Moon. So number 12 is Cape Fear, and freaking I love De Niro's performance as Max Cady. I think everybody in this movie is great, but he plays such an over the top crazy character. You can't not love this. And then if you haven't seen the original Cape Fear, I recommend seeing the original Cape Fear as well. It's a phenomenal. And you get the cameos by both, not one, but both of the stars of the original Cape Fear in this movie. They're both in there. But yeah, this is a yes for me. Come out wherever you are. I love saying that.
But Richie, what do you say about Cape Fear?
Yeah, I'd say yes. It's one of the better remakes, and yeah, I mean, again, Dan said everything really. It's great. I think De Niro's performance is bonkers, but the right kind of bonkers, and it's great. He's great. He's phenomenal in this movie. So yes, absolutely.
Fun fact I just found out, which I think is quite funny. Apparently, Cape Fear was originally developed by Spielberg, who eventually decided it was too violent and traded it to Scorsese in exchange for Schindler's List.
Well, they both win.
Good trade-off.
They both win. Yeah.
No, I thought Spielberg thought that Cape Fear was too violent. Like, oh yeah, I'll just go for Schindler's List.
Too Schindler.
Yeah. But Jonathan, what do you say about Cape Fear?
I liked it. I don't love it. The thing is, De Niro does give a great performance. He gives an eerie performance as Katie. He's memorable, along with Juliette Lewis. I think she's phenomenal as well.
I think that's your first role, right? Ever?
I think so, but I need a recheck on that. But I do like that Scorsese made the decision to make that family miserable. Not like a happy-go-lucky family, like la 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 la, sunshine and rainbows. No, but they're living in sins, regret, misery, guilt, I mean, Nick Nolte has some sort of affair. And yeah, it is a dark film. I think that I don't know what part you stopped in Cape Fear. I'm gonna assume that have they left the house yet where you stopped?
I am an hour and 33 minutes in, so
Oh God.
I'm
God.
gonna assume they left the house. So the climax just runs a little too long for me. I think it just like it's too talky, and it's just the camera work is just too much for me. And I don't know, it just was taking too long to end to wrap up because you kind of know what's gonna happen. So yeah, it is. So I would have said no. I do like it, but yeah, this is an appropriate movie to watch during the spooky season. One of the two, actually. So
and yeah, Juliette Lewis's first movie was My Stepmother is an Alien. Then she followed it. Then she followed it up playing Audrey in Christmas Vacation.
Oh, she
yeah,
in Christmas?
because
Oh, she was Audrey. Yeah.
yeah, because I thought I was like no Cape Fear because I thought of Christmas Vacation.
I forgot she was in
Yeah.
that.
But yeah, some other interesting facts I found out from looking this up. Apparently, Scorsese wanted Harrison Ford in the role of Sam Bowden, but Ford agreed to be in the film. But Harrison Ford agreed to be in the film only if he could play Max Cady, which obviously that never happened at the end.
No, but
Wow,
that would have
that
been
would've been wild.
badass.
That would have
Yeah.
been wild to see
Robert
that.
De Niro versus Harrison Ford. That would have been
Damn.
badass.
Yeah. And Drew Barrymore and Reese Witherspoon both auditioned for the part of Danielle Belden.
Oh,
And
wow.
apparently Spielberg wanted Bill Murray to play Max Cady.
Who?
Bill
Bill
Murray.
Murray.
Wow. Interesting. It's interesting that he's casting.
Yeah, Drew Barrymore and Reese Witherspoon, they're too sweet to play the Julius.
They get to a wholesome image.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think we've ever seen Bill Murray play against type either, so that could be interesting. But with that, I believe Cape Fear does make the list.
It does.
And we go back to Dan for the next nomination.
Yeah, I alluded to Jonathan. I think there was a better of the religious trilogy. I think there was a better one, and that's a movie called Silence. I think Silence is a phenomenal film that does not get the credit it deserves. It's an epic film about these two priests that go to feudal Japan, to try to sell them on Christianity and stuff like that, and the brutality and the cinematography, the score, the music. This movie deserves so much more credit than it has gotten over the years. I think it is a phenomenal film. Adam Driver, Andrew Garfield, Liam Neeson, they're all incredible in it. I just think if you have not seen Silence, you need to see this movie. Even if you have to stop in the middle and take a break and go back to it and keep going, because it's a movie that really shows you what a great filmmaker Scorsese is, because of some of the things he does with the camera and with bad weather, and all kinds of different things that he's showing you in this movie. It took a while to make this movie, and and people are like, oh, why is he indulging with this? He owned this movie decades before he made the film. He had this, and he waited for the right time to make Silence. And I think the right time was when it came out, and I think he got some great performances, and I think the technical aspects of it are amazing. And I think it's to cap off his religious trilogy. I think it's a phenomenal film. So I'm taking my shot with Silence. I know there's a big one on the board that we haven't picked yet. I could have picked that one right now, but I figured I'd go with Silence and see what you guys think.
Richie, what do you say about Silence?
I like Silence. I don't love it necessarily. I think I respect it. I think Martin Scorsese's masterful, full behind the camera as usual. But yeah, and it looks great. Then the performances are great. I don't know. I don't find it as engaging as some of his other work. So, I don't mind it being on the list, but I will give it a slight no. But yeah, again, I don't mind It's still a good movie. I just there's probably a couple of others that I enjoy more that we haven't talked about.
But yeah, Jonathan, what do you say about Silence?
I've seen it twice. The first time when it came out, and then the next time I saw it by a rental on Prime. It's an interesting movie. I think that I like the way. Yeah, it's a gorgeous movie. Yeah, it's the silence alludes to that. The silence is used very well, and it's really just crashing waves. That is the music of the movie. I mean, it's just solemn throughout the whole film. And it basically delineates the morals of how Christianity can affect people, where they have to be kept secretive, and how martyrdom can beset guilt, and questions in terms of the one of the priest's belief of telling the villagers and also the magistrates later about the importance of Christianity. What hurts the movie for me is a pacing a little bit. I think is a little slow in the middle, and I don't like the ending. I really do not like the ending. I think it just ends on a conventional Hollywood note where I felt like they use time not particularly well. However, it's not in my 12, but it's very close. So I'm willing to compromise on this movie because it is close, and since Last Temptation is not going to move on, I'll compromise for Silence to be on the list. So I'm going to give it a slight yes on Silence.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not going to make the list. I haven't seen it. It's one of those movies that I've been meaning to watch. I just haven't been in the right frame of mind to watch it.
I understand. You have to be in the right frame of mind. Yeah.
And when I have been in the right frame of mind, there's been other movies that I was watching at the time for other things. But yeah, eventually I'll probably get around to seeing it. But yeah, I just didn't have the time to watch it.
There is an underrated performance that we got to mention. What's his name?
Japanese guy. This is a Japanese guy.
You say Ogata. I think that's
fantastic.
his name. He's great.
Fantastic.
He's great in that movie. So I want to bring him up. So yeah.
But Richie, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the one we're skirting around, but I will do it. I'll bring up the other Joe Pesci movie, Casino. This movie rocks. Fantastic performances all across the board. I don't really need to explain why. We all know why it's great. So yeah, Casino.
Jonathan, what do you say about Casino?
Well, spoiler alert. I mean, fun fact that this is Nicky's head, and I just came across from this head in a dirt once, but I shouldn't be messing around with it. So happy Halloween, Nikki. Okay. Anyway, Casino.
Were you holding it the whole time, hoping until someone brought up Casino?
Yes.
We've been waiting on that joke the whole time.
So sorry, Nikki, for what you. Well, not sorry. Casino. Yeah, obviously it's compared to Goodfellas in a way. I don't love it as much as Goodfellas. I think the one aspect is the romance. I think it's a little. It doesn't quite fit, in my opinion. Although I think it features Sharon Stone's best performance, in my opinion. I think I'm not a fan of Sharon Stone, but she's great in it. De Niro, Pesci, once again, they have great chemistry. That desert scene, I could watch that scene every day. I mean, that scene, it doesn't feel like it was scripted. That's how good it is. So Casino, while I don't love the movie, it is an entertaining movie. It is a rewatchable movie. That's another nearly 3-hour movie that goes by quickly. Well, maybe not as much as The Wolf of Wall Street, but I would say yes to Casino, because of those three, and also how can I not say no to Don Rickles? Come on. I mean, Don Rickles he is a bit quiet compared to his stand-up, but yeah. So I'm gonna say yes to Casino.
Yeah. I've only seen Casino once, but I remember loving it a lot. And yeah, this is number 8 in the most uses of
Yep.
F word. And yeah, but I do think it's a good movie. It's definitely one that will probably revisit again at some stage. But yeah, so it's yes for me. Dan, what do you say about Casino?
Yeah, I remember seeing this when I was a maybe 22, 23, and I just absolutely was blown away. But I love the how he's explaining about the casino and the bosses and the underbosses and all that. That stuff and was incredible. I love how they explained all that stuff in the movie, made it so simple for people to understand that we're watching. Um, yeah, and it just goes to what Scorsese's all about. He wants to tell stories about these people, these real people. These guys were from Chicago, like Tony Spilotro is Joe Pesci's character, and this is a real story. This is it's they changed the names and all this stuff. You know what I mean? But these are real people, and this is stuff that really happened. Same thing with Goodfellas. And so it's amazing how much crime was going on in this country over the years, and I think these two are like bookends to each other, Casino and Goodfellas. I think they really work well together, and you can put the Irishman in the middle if you want, whatever. But yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna save it for someone else to bring up. I'm glad Richie brought it up. But yeah, Casino should be on this list.
Um, but yeah, that Casino does make the list. And John, from me, go to you.
We only have one spot left, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, this is probably the most difficult spot because there's an embarrassment of riches here. Boy, what do I pick? This is hard. All right, I'm gonna bring up this movie. I don't know how this is gonna go, but I wouldn't be upset if it doesn't make the list. But that's okay. Okay, I'm gonna bring up this movie that I know that Malcolm is a fan of these kinds of movies. Not as much as I do, but I like this period piece very much, and I'm gonna bring up The Age of Innocence. This is an interesting movie about a love triangle that initially wouldn't, pique my interest, but it's an interesting love triangle in a way because it's not the traditional love triangle story. I mean, it's set in the 1870s in New York, where lawyer Newland Archer, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, is engaged to marry May, played by Winona Ryder, and they're basically, giddy with each other. They like each other, obviously. But then he encounters with her cousin, Countess Ellen Olenska, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, where she had a horrible marriage with a count. And now she's living with her own rules against people's views of society. So, and mostly because of that, Newland is secretly attracted to her in a way. So, this is a psychologically violent movie, in which it is just haunting, beautiful, and just poetic to watch. Because a man is bottled up in tradition and privilege in this pampered society, and the guilt is consumed throughout the movie as it just slowly tears his soul apart because he has so much to lose. So, and then the ending is just, without giving it away, it's hypnotic and interesting to think about. So, again, if this is shot down, it's okay. So I'll bring up The Age of Innocence because of variety. So I think there is one kind of crime film that we're missing, but yeah, I'll bring up The Age of Innocence.
The the Oscar-winning Age of Innocence as well, because it won an Oscar for costume design.
Oh, no surprise. Yeah, no surprise.
And was also nominated for supporting actress, adapted screenplay,
Winona.
original score, and art direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Winona.
But funny enough, at the BAFTAs, the Age of Innocence got the BAFTA for best supporting actress as well, but not for Winona Ryder. It was Miriam Margolyes that got it at the BAFTAs.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, once again, I've only seen The Age of Innocence once. It's another one I do want to revisit at some stage. But yeah, I think this is a really great movie, and yeah, I do like period pieces, and I think they're a lot of fun. And once again, this is another one that's a lot different to
Yeah.
stuff that Scorsese has done before, and it just sort of came out of left field when I saw this was Scorsese, and this is number 12 on my list, so it's going to be yes for me. Dan, what do you say about The Age of Innocence?
Well, I want to just preface this by saying I agree with everything you guys have said. Beautiful costumes. It's different than a lot of other things that Scorsese have done. It's got 3 really big name actors, and what people consider one of the greats of all time, if not the greatest actor of all time,
Yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis. But I'll be honest with you, Jonathan. I mean, the dialogue is just some of the boringest dialogue. I mean, this dialogue just makes me fall asleep the first 5 or 10 minutes I listen to this movie, and I just can't even listen to the dialogue from these guys. It's like low, it's drab. The way they talk is just like there's no like zest to the way they talk. There's no like a viv and vigor in the way these people talk. It's just boring. Like I just can't stand it. It's so boring. It's just the story is interesting to me, and then but the way he directs his actors to give these boring performances and the dialogue's so dreary and it's just slow and just I'm sorry, Jonathan. I can't vote for Age of Innocence.
No, I would agree with you with most period piece movies. But because of this dialogue, it is based on the novel, so it's mostly Edith Wharton's dialogue.
That's
criticizing.
Yeah,
the novel's dialogue. So, I do agree with you with most period piece movies because it is drab in my opinion. Because I have to find the right period piece movie that will connect. Yeah, and this is one of the few ones, but that's okay.
Scorsese is my favorite director, and I just do not like The Age of Innocence at all, unfortunately.
But Richie, what do you say about The Age of Innocence?
I haven't seen it, and it probably wouldn't. I'm not gonna lie, it probably wouldn't be my bag just because I'm not a huge period piece guy, but I might give it a shot one day.
But if that The Age of Innocence doesn't make the list,
good luck, everybody, getting what movie to get on the last spot. I mean, right back.
So I'm between 2. I'm gonna go for this one just because I've got it a little bit higher up, and I watched The Color of Money for the first time this year for something completely different. But this was one I sort of went into watching. I've still not seen The Hustler, which it's a pseudo sequel to, but I think The Color of Money is a good movie and is able to stand alone on it by itself, and it's a really interesting story. And I think Paul Newman is great in this. I think even Tom Cruise, I think is great at being kind of an unlikable dick in some parts, and I think he's a lot of interesting in this movie, and I think it's and it's one of those ones like it's really hard to make movies about Paul interesting, and I think Scorsese managed to make a movie about Paul interesting. But Dan, what are your thoughts about The Color of Money?
I will tell you this, Malcolm. I don't dislike The Color of Money. All right, and there's a lot about it I like. I just have a resentment towards the film for a couple reasons. Number one, Paul Newman wins the Academy Awards for playing uh, what's his name? What's his name in it? Come on, Jonathan.
What?
Fast Eddie.
Sorry?
Huh?
I'm sorry. Go say it.
What's
Ask
his
the
name
question.
in Color of Money?
Oh God, the Hustler. Eddie
Fast Eddie
Felson.
Felson.
Fast Eddie Felson. My bad. I don't know why it just slipped my mind. He
I know.
wins the Oscar for playing Fast Eddie Felson in this movie, but he doesn't win the Oscar for playing Fast Eddie Felson in the Hustler, which is a better movie. Then the other one is he should have won for The Verdict. He doesn't win for The Verdict, and Ben Kingsley wins for Gandhi that year.
That was a tough year, though.
So I know it's a tough year. But I mean, it's like he wins the Academy Award for playing the right character for the wrong movie. So in my head, I'm just like, it bothers me, Malcolm. It's not that I hate this movie, because I don't hate this movie. And then this is one of those movies where it's like Tom Cruise is playing the pool player. Tom Cruise is playing the jet pilot. Tom Cruise is playing the bartender. Tom Cruise is playing the race car driver. It's like the job of the week that Tom Cruise was like, and I don't dislike The Color of Money. All right, I'm telling you guys, and if it gets on the list, I'm happy to say, okay, it's on the list. For just some personal reasons, I'm going to say no. I know that's dumb, but
Richie, what do you say about The Color of Money?
I think this movie's all right, pretty good. There's one I was gonna, for selfish reasons, there's one I was gonna champion to try and get on there. So I'll say no.
And Jonathan, what do you say about The Color of Money?
This is my least favorite Martin Scorsese movie. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this movie. I just look, great lighting, great cinematography. I do love Mastrantonio's performance, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. She's great. It's just predictable. That's all. I mean, it's predictable arc. Cruise is predictable. I mean, Dan said it well. It's basically the movie of the week for Cruise at that time, where he's playing, the person, the best person ever at his job or whatever. But well, it was great to see. What's interesting? I've seen this movie before. I see The Hustler, so I need to check out The Hustler to make that statement and see if it's better than The Color of Money. I hope it's better.
Oh, it's way better. Jackie Gleason is incredible.
Okay, that's good.
So
yeah, I gotta go no on The Color of Money. It's my least favorite movie from him.
If The Color of Money doesn't make the list, Dan, what's the next movie you're going to bring up?
Well, we got enough gangster films, and I could easily bring up Mean Streets, but I'm not going to bring up Mean Streets because I think we got enough gangster films and those types of films. I'm going to bring up a film. I think I want to champion a different film, and I'm hoping that maybe a couple of you guys have seen it. And it's a film where actually somebody won a Best Actress Academy Award for this role, and it's a young person who eventually wins 2 Academy Awards, and that's Jodie Foster and Ellen Burstyn for Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. And it spawned a TV show called Alice. I know you guys are all too young for that, but Mel's Diner, he actually is in this movie. Mel from Mel's Diner, he's in this as Mel. Yeah, I like it because it's about a mother, and it's about a mother who's trying to make a life for herself and her little daughter, who looks like a boy, I might add. Jodie Foster looked like a boy, and then he doesn't look like a girl.
She's a tomboy.
Cool. She's a tomboy, but she's really cool in the movie. I really like her in the movie. It's this mother who's struggling. She's going through these different guys who are abusive and this and that and the other. And I mean, I want to champion a woman who goes out and works, who's trying to raise a child and trying to make money for her family and stuff. And you know, I think this is a forebear for a lot of movies over the years that would come decades later, 10, 20, 30 years down the road. And I think if you haven't seen Alice Doesn't Live, I really, really highly recommend it because Ellen Burstyn is incredible in it. Jodie Foster's great in it, in a little supporting role. There's a couple, Harvey Keitel's in it. There's a couple of the other guys in it are not the nicest guys. I can't remember all their names.
Christopherson.
Chris Christopherson was a nice guy for a while there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just shooting my shot for Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. I think it's a good movie, and once won an Oscar for Ellen Burstyn. People are like, "Oh, Ellen Burstyn should win an Oscar." What do you mean? She already did 35 years ago.
But Richie, what do you say about Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore?
I like Dan's passion for it, but I haven't seen it.
That's fine. It's fine, Richie. I didn't expect everybody to see it.
Yeah.
It's part of that filmography where some of these films people haven't seen. I understand that.
Yeah.
But Jonathan, what do you say about Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore?
All right, next movie up, and it's this one. It's this one. Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Yeah, it's an interesting story because when Scorsese was hired by Burstyn, Scorsese said himself that he did not know anything about directing women or filming women or subjects about women. So he learned. He learned during the making of this movie, and he did a very good job playing this mother who, after the death of her husband, has to travel with her son to have a better life. And we don't get many movies about that a lot recently, about the struggles of single parenting. And it's an incredible movie. And the diner scenes themselves are great, as well as she has great interactions with this no-nonsense waitress played by Diane Ladd. She's great. And
Laura Dern.
Yeah, Laura Dern, yeah. And Laura Dern has one cameo. You gotta spot it very carefully. But I think she has ice cream or something. But this is a very strong movie about an independent woman searching for a better life for her and her son. I think she was a former singer. So
Lounge singer, yeah.
Yeah, a lounge singer. So like I said, to be different and to have variety, and also a rare movie where there's a woman in a Scorsese movie in the lead. I say yes to Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
My response to this is, Alice, who the fuck is Alice? I haven't seen it.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that, Malcolm. I knew it.
But once again, this is another one I've heard a lot about. I just because I'm pretty sure it came up when we did it the first time around, but I couldn't find it then, and I just couldn't find it this week. So I was like, if it comes up, it comes up. I don't know how it's going to go, but
we don't have many movies left.
Someone's going to bring up Mean Streets. I know that. So, that'll probably be on the list.
But Richie, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Boxcar Birthday.
There's one I want to bring up, but I know, already know one of the panel's feelings about that movie, so but I like it. There is one that I think is that offbeat path, and it's kind of funny. I don't know. I will see how it happens, but I liked After Hours. I think it's fun. Why not? That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be great. There we go. Oh, well, let's just go to Jonathan then. Anyway, After Hours.
No, let's go to Dan first. I think he'll say no, but I don't know.
I can't stand After Hours. I'll tell you right now, I cannot stand After. This is so not Scorsese. Yeah, I know that. I hear the stories about how he ended up involved with making it and all this stuff. I mean, I don't like the actor. I just don't like the scenario. I don't like that it's like a 4-block radius of Hell's Kitchen that the whole movie takes place in, and they're filmed at like at 1 o'clock at night to like 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever to get this thing done in like 2 weeks or whatever it was. I know the whole story about After Hours. I just don't like the movie. Period. I don't like the movie. So you guys take it from here.
Okay. All right. That's out of the way. After Hours. Interesting movie. I have the movie on Criterion because it is a strong enough movie to rewatch. Finally it's on Criterion because a lot of people were clamoring for the movie to come out on Criterion for years. Yep. And you don't like the movie. Okay. Interesting. You have it. Yeah, this is an interesting 24 hours or less than that about a data entry worker played by Griffin. And I don't understand it. And you said no to Age of Innocence. A data entry worker played by Griffin Dunn. Yeah, I understand. Like he is a little dry in places, but I think that it gets better with better supporting roles along the way, like Rosanna Arquette, Linda Fiorentino as a roommate, and then we have Catherine O'Hara and Cheech and Chong are in the movie, right?
Yeah.
If I remember. Yeah. That one. So Raging Bull. So yeah, I think Arquette she's lovely and she displays a lovely and melancholic performance, and she has probably the best eye wink in a movie ever. I mean, probably. Boy, I'm sorry, Dan. I want to see how this goes. I mean, it's burst with comedy because I think about that movie and I want to rewatch it again. Maybe after spooky season's over, but let's see how this goes. I'll say yes to it.
Well, I'll tell you exactly how this is going to go. Jonathan, what's the next movie going to bring up? I haven't seen it.
You know what? I didn't think it was going to get to me again. I'll be honest. I thought that the what was it?
Come on, just say Mean Streets. Get it over.
No. Actually, I'm not going to say Mean Streets. That's not the next movie I want to bring up.
All right. Let me see. I'll figure it out.
What's next? Let's see. How many movies we have left? Well, okay.
Here's in New York.
Okay. Here's the thing. I will not bring up Killers of the Flower Moon because obviously two of the panel have not seen it, but I'll talk about it later afterwards. Because we'll talk about it later. But okay, I'll pick Shutter Island. Here's why. So, the first time I watched Shutter Island, I thought it was a bit, it was all right. But then I revisited a couple times in the past few years, and I think it has aged real well. Because I felt like it's basically Leonardo DiCaprio's performance. I think he really displays one of his more underrated, powerful performances as he conveys paranoia, anger, fear, and vulnerability from his flashbacks and in the war and with his family, notably his wife, played by Michelle Williams, and then also his alcoholic behavior, PTSD, and the the psychology behind Teddy's past. It's keen, but also terrifying and tragic. And while I wish that the pacing were a little faster, I think it's really a spine-tingling journey once you focus on the details of what's going on once you get to the conclusion of the movie. Look, we don't have many movies left to talk about, so I'm going to shoot my shot for Shutter Island. So, Shutter Island.
Yeah, Shutter Island was going to be the next one I was going to bring up. I quite like Shutter Island. Honestly, I'm surprised it's taken us this long to get to Shutter Island. I thought for sure it was going to come up early. But yeah, I think this is a really great thriller. I think it's a really good performance from Leo as well. I think this is just one of those movies that I haven't seen it in a while. But I'm definitely going. I definitely plan on revisiting this at some stage. But
it does age like it ages like fine wine in a way. Yeah, it holds up a little well.
but it's going to be a yes for me. Dan, what do you say about Shutter Island?
I just want to tell you a little story, real quick. A gentleman by the name of Martin Scorsese came out in an interview within the last week or so because Killers of the Flower Moon were coming out. He talked to some people about various things in his career, and one of the things was that he made a mistake making a specific movie in his filmography, and that movie was Shutter Island. He says he should have made Silence back then, and he shouldn't have made Shutter Island. So Martin Scorsese himself says he shouldn't have made this movie, and he resents making this movie. That being said, it's not a bad movie. I think it's not. I think the twist is very interesting in it.
Yeah,
you know, it's got. I just don't like the twist that much. I'm kind of like, God, I didn't like the twist. It's an interesting twist. Don't get me wrong, but I think I saw it coming a little bit too soon. I see so many movies that I saw the twist coming. I didn't know exactly when the twist was going to happen. I kind of had a feeling what was going to happen when I was watching. It was like, God, why do I always do this to myself? I always know what's going to happen before it actually happens. And of course it happens. I'm sure Richie's going to say yes to this. So I'm going to say no.
Richie, what do you say about Shutter Island?
Yeah, well, I guess we know what Dan's number 12 will be, because I'm going to go Shutter Island. I'm going to say yes to Shutter Island.
I knew you were going to say yes.
Look, the thing is that there are better movies than Shutter Island, but obviously they're trying to. So.
I mean, we do have 5 or 6 movies very similar to Mean Streets.
Yes.
Oh, if you have another one,
that's why
as well. On there. So I knew if I said no, Richie would say yes, and then we'd have something different. We have a little bit of variety on here.
Yeah, and that's why as well.
I'm fine with variety on here. I mean, if somebody had brought up Mean Streets before something else or whatever, maybe Mean Streets should be on the list instead of something else. You don't know, you know. But I'd rather have a little bit of variety than have 5 or 6 movies that are the same type of movie. We know he's made so many of these movies, you know.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's one of those ones like if anyone's going to bring up Mean Streets, it wasn't going to be me because it's one of the bigger movies I haven't seen of. So
yeah, no, that's fine. Malcolm. I understand.
But anyway, we have reached our 12, and we're going to move on to some honorable mentions. And for me, basically, the only other movie that if Shutter Island didn't make the list, it would have come up, and I would have suggested was Gangs New York. I like it. I mean, I like it. I'm not in love with it as everyone else is, but I mean, there used to be a point I couldn't stand it, but then I gave it a rewatch, and it kind of went a little bit up for me. But yeah, it's fine. But then, what are some apart from Mean Streets? What are some honorable mentions that you have?
Well, I mean, I've seen every Martin Scorsese. I've seen his shorter New York stories. I've seen New York with him, De Niro and Liza Minnelli. I've seen it. Who's That Knocking at My Door with Harvey Keitel, his first movie he ever was in. I've seen Boxcar. I've seen every Martin Scorsese film. I've seen some of his documentaries, you know, so I've seen them all. The Last Waltz. A lot of people talk about The Last Waltz as being a great film, you know.
Interesting.
I haven't gotten the criterion of that yet, but I want to get the criterion of The Last Waltz. But yeah, I mean, I've seen every single one of his films, so I mean, there's nothing I couldn't have brought up or talked about on here. I've seen them all multiple times.
But Richie, did you have any honorable mentions left?
Yeah, no, really just Mean Streets, Gangs of New York, and maybe Kundun is okay.
Yeah, it's not as good as Empire of the Sun, but it's not actually. It's actually not bad. And you see to yourself, why don't anybody talk about this? It's really not that bad a movie. It's just like Scorsese's going to do a movie about the Dalai Lama. That's weird, right?
And Jonathan, did you have any honorable mentions?
Really, I mean, Gangs in New York, I think it's just good, very good, just because of Daniel Day-Lewis. I mean, if you take him away, it's not as good, to be honest. But
plus, the sets aren't that good. I don't like how they did it. I would have rather they would have did it something else. Why built this whole thing in the middle of nowhere in Italy? It looks fake to me, doesn't it, Jonathan?
No, actually, it looks dirty. I think that's how it
dirty.
looked back then.
Yeah.
I mean, That's how it is. But I very quickly for a minute, Killers of the Flower Moon. If both of y'all had seen it, aside from Dan, I would have brought it up because I think, I think it's better than Shutter Island. But the thing is, I think it's well, in my opinion, it's one of the best movies of the year. I don't think it's my favorite movie of the year, but I think that DiCaprio plays an interestingly different role aside from his other performances. Like, I think he plays an idiot very well. I mean, he's just a pathetic idiot, and I don't understand why people
I call him a dunce. I call him a dunce.
Or that. But I don't understand why people are, chagrined about that performance because he played it well. He's played a pathetic idiot, even though people criticize him as being sympathetic. It's the last scene that is the key to that character with Lily Gladstone. That
but why does he tell him? Why does he answer the question? Why doesn't he fess up?
Well, I don't want to give it away. But also Lily Gladstone. She's
phenomenal.
She's excellent. She deserves
great decision. Great decision. We talk about this on Gone with the Wind, Jonathan. We'll have you on one of these days. If you want to come on Gone with the Wind, we'll have you on. We've talked about this, that she went from supporting. Everybody thought she was supporting, and then she said, "No, I want to be in the best actress."
Okay, real quick. Do you agree with that decision?
Yes, I do. After seeing the movie, I agree with that decision.
Okay.
She's one of the 5 best performances of the year. As of right now, she should be in there.
Okay. My quick take is that yes, she should be nominated. However, I think she gave the Oscar away because she's not in it as much in the second half. But nevertheless, I think Killers of the Flower Moon, I think that should have been one of the 12, in my opinion. I don't know where it would have landed, but I think it's a great movie. I think Oppenheimer's the favorite so far, but
yes.
I'll
fair. I want to have a conversation with you. I'll have a conversation with you, Jonathan.
However, I like that we have the 2 psychological thrillers that I alluded to. Now it's spooky season still on the list. Cape Fear and Shutter Island. So they're both kind of scary.
Yeah.
It's a ghost story. It's Scorsese doing a ghost story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but one of these days I hope to have both the time and money to go see Killers of the Flower Moon. I just don't. I have one, I don't do the other, or vice versa.
I hate to compare it to this, but I think it's his Schindler's List in a way. I don't think that many people are going to rewatch it, but
have you read the book though?
Yes.
I don't think he handles the material properly, Jonathan. I read the book 2 years ago.
Well, it's a different conversation,
but anyway, I'm going to rein this back in. But yeah, the 12 movies that are on this list, we've got Major Bill, Wolf of Wall Street, Goodfellas, Hugo, Taxi Driver, King Comedy, The Aviator, The Departed, The Irishman, Cape Fear, Casino, Shutter Island. And some honorable mentions that we do have in the chat. Jonathan Peck brings up Kundun.
Fine.
And Brian brought up a joke one of Shark Tale. Maybe I think he's got a cameo.
No chance he's in it.
Yeah,
no chance.
Oh yeah.
But I will say this: The Last Waltz. Actually, I would have considered it.
Yeah, very good documentary. Very good documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. I didn't say no to documentaries, but no one chose to bring them up. So.
Yeah, it didn't occur to me. But anyway.
But with that, for me, I've got The Irishman. Dan, what do you have at 12?
Of course you do.
Shutter Island.
Richie.
Shutter Island.
And Jonathan.
Shutter Island.
That Shutter Island is going to be 12. But Dan, what do you have at 11?
Cape Fear.
Well, yeah,
But
you
she-
know what? Yeah,
This will be quick. Cape Fear.
yeah, you're right.
Jonathan,
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. Cape Fear. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I still got the Irishman, but Cape Fear is going to be 11.
Those two psychological thrillers off the board.
It's not really bad. Yeah.
Richie, what do you have for 10?
Maybe controversial, but I put Casino.
Jonathan,
Hugo.
I've got the Irishman, Dan.
I'm with you, Malcolm. The Irishman.
You know what? Yeah. I'll compromise a little.
Damn, I thought I was going to stay on my board for a lot longer than that, but oh.
Compromise a little bit.
But Jonathan, what do you have for 9?
I'll compromise a little bit. Casino.
I've got Wolf of Wall Street, Dan.
God, you've got some debaters. You're
Casino.
gonna wait.
And Richie.
Casino.
Yeah,
Look,
you got
look, the movie.
Wow.
What? Look, the movies that are left are all 4 stars for me on. So I mean, it's
4?
not like
4 out of 5? Wow. Amazing.
as I said, I like it, but not as much as other people. But Casino is going to be nice. But yeah, I'm sticking with Wolf of Wall Street. Dan,
The king of comedy.
Richie,
The Departed.
Ooh, this is gonna be
and
interesting.
Jonathan.
Hugo.
So we've got a 4-way tie. I'm going to go to the chat. So Hugo, King of Comedy, The Departed, or Wolf of Wall Street. Which one do you want at 8? JPO.
I saw the movies on the list. Holy crap! Jeez.
But Leo got it in first, and it's going to be Hugo at 8.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Maybe
You're terrible, Leo. You're terrible.
Maybe his best movie is Home Alone 2.
I'm pretty sure that's what. I'm pretty sure that got number 1 at in the end.
Where was
'cause
Jonathan?
I know
It's just
his
me, right? Okay, it's just me.
Yeah. Richie, what do you have for 7?
I stick with The Departed.
Jonathan, what do you have for 7?
It's not The Wolf of Wall Street. It's The King of Comedy.
And I'm sticking with Wolf of Wall Street.
King of comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, come on. This pen was doing good too.
My pen is doing pretty well, actually. I haven't had to write much. So Jonathan, what do you have at 6?
This gets tougher for me, but I put The Aviator.
Sticking with Wolf of Wall Street.
Actually,
Dan.
If you can barely see it, it says the Wolf of Wall Street, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can see it. Richie.
I changed the last segment. I haven't get a time to write it down, but I'm going to say The Aviator as well.
We've got a 2-way tie, The Aviator or Wolf of Wall Street. I'm going to the chat.
Come on, chat.
First comment I see will be the one that will decide what's at 6. And Edible and JPO was in first with Aviator PR.
Good
Come on,
man.
yo, Jesus.
So what's left? Goodfellas, Raging Bull.
We've got Raging Bull, Wolf of Wall Street, Goodfellas, Taxi Driver, The
Departed.
and Departed.
Oh, that's my top 5.
The Aviator is in my top 5.
Yeah, I ended up,
Well, the Aviator's in my top 6, so and it was 6th. So I'm okay. I'm happy. I'm happy with it anyway.
Stick with Wolf of Wall Street, Dan.
Wolf of Wall Street, Wolf of Wall Street.
Richie.
The Departed.
Oh my
Come
God,
on, Richie.
Jonathan.
Richie and I are on the same page tonight. The Departed.
Come on.
So, chat, we've got The Departed or Wolf of Wall Street.
No, here's the thing with this top. They're all 5 out of 5, so it's really slim pickings. So
The part is better than the Wolf of Wall Street.
The
Jeez.
first comment that came in was Leo, and it was Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, good job.
see,
Leo.
now he redeems himself with you. Dan.
I like you, Leo. I like you, Leo.
Okay. I rewatched Wolf a little more than Departed. And because it also has his best performance, Leo's best performance. Yeah.
Hashtag
I-
sorry.
my-
Yeah, I can't. I
My
can't.
pen is acting up, so I have to switch to pen and paper.
Yeah, I can't. I can't put the numbers.
Who's up first?
Dan.
It's Dan. Yeah.
Can you see that? The Departed.
Yeah. Richie.
Yeah, I didn't change my board. The Departed.
Jonathan.
Departed.
Taxi Driver. But Departed is going to be at 4. And fun fact, The Departed was actually what was number 1 on the previous Scorsese ranking.
Really?
That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, look, to be fair, one of the people we had on that panel was the super fan Cody Newberry. So, but
So- We got 3 left. Goodfellas,
3 left.
Raging Bull, and Taxi Driver.
Yep. Richie, what do you have at 3?
Raging Bull.
Jonathan,
Taxi Driver.
Taxi Driver, and Dan.
Oh, Raging Bull.
Ooh.
So, chat, Raging Bull or Taxi Driver, which one is going to be at number 3?
Not mad. I'm not gonna be mad. Sorry. Again, slim pickings.
And JPO was actually no, Brian was first in, and it was Raging Bull.
It's fine.
So we're voting for a winner now, right?
Yep. I almost wrote The Raging Bull, but it's just Raging Bull.
The Raging Bull sounds like a Pixar movie.
Well, I mean, if you look at the
It kind of
list,
does, actually.
I mean, if you're looking at the list, Scorsese has a lot of movies that begin with the.
Yeah. I think when he got to like The Aviator. Yeah.
It's like, I've used that to me.
The Departed.
Who's
But
first?
for me, I've got for number 1, I've got Goodfellas. Dan,
Goodfellas.
Richie,
Goodfellas.
and Jonathan.
I mean, as far back as I could remember, I have always wanted to be a gangster. Goodfellas. Sweep.
That Taxi Driver will be second.
I think about it. Said, sorry, we're number 1. I'm like, man, did you not listen?
What I tell you, Jonathan,
What?
best film in Scorsese's filmography is Goodfellas.
Well, it's my favorite. I think the best for me is Raging Bull, but favorite.
My favorite's Raging Bull, but I'm telling you, I think the best all-around film of like just writing, directing, cinematography, set production, I mean music, I mean like all around
Innovative. It's innovative.
It's just everything. It's everything.
Yeah.
And that's why it's the best. That's why when it comes to stuff like this, I always go for it as the number 1 because despite Raging Bull and Taxi Driver being high on my own personal list, Goodfellas is actually the best of his filmography.
I mean, it's one of those ones like people can vote how they want. Because like I think a lot of times people do vote for their favorites over the best, and Goodfellas is actually my favorite Scorsese as it is.
A lot of people's favorite Scorsese.
It's
But,
third on mine, but I love the movie. I think it's a phenomenal movie. How Dances with Wolves beat this? I have no idea.
I mean, I haven't seen Dance with Wolves, so I can't.
It's very
So,
good, but it's no Goodfellas.
Nope.
But yeah, just to recap the list. At number 12, we had Shutter Island. At 11, we had Cape Fear.
Counselor.
At 10, we had The Irishman. At 9, we had Casino. At 8, we had Hugo. At 7, we had The King of Comedy. At 6, we got The Aviator. At 5, we got Wolf of Wall Street. At 4, we got The Departed. At 3, we got Raging Bull. At 2, we got Taxi Driver. At 1, we got Goodfellas. But that brings us to the end of this week's Halloween themed episode of Scorsese. But next week we're going to go to a proper Halloween themed episode, which will be top 12 influential horror movies. But Dan, where can people find you online?
You can find me at my name, Dan Skipbound, on Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, Letterboxd, any variation of Dan Skipbound, DP Skipbound, From the Fourth Row, whatever. Also, I am a film critic, and one of the sites I write for is right there, fromthefourthrow.com. Also write for disappointmentmedia.com. I'm doing a special 5-part series celebrating my 50 years of existence called My Life, My Love, 50 Years in Film, where I do reviews of all the films I picked from a 10-year span. Every film of every year of my existence, I do a review, and I do it in 10-year increments. And then I also do a companion video where I get some guests on with me, and they do their picks and I do my picks of those years, and we see if we match up, if we don't match up, and disagree or agree or whatever. So that's kind of fun. It'd be boring if I sat there on camera just going down my favorite films from each year. That's not fun. But bantering back and forth with other people is kind of a lot more fun. Also, I got the whole entire list up till the last episode, which I have not aired yet, on Letterboxd. So if you want to go down there, you can see all the reviews, all my films, what ratings I gave them. So it's a 3-platform project that I'm doing this year to celebrate my 50 years of existence. Also, I've been on the Dill Pickle Network. I've been on with them a few times on their show called Picture This, where I've done all 3 Godfather years, 72, 74, 90, also 1980, which is the Raging Bull year of Scorsese. Also, I am a award show pundit with my co-host right there, Mr. Malcolm Lay, on Gone with the Wind. And tomorrow night, we're doing a special Halloween-themed Gone with the Wind, where we're looking back over the Academy Awards and see things that maybe should have been nominated. Horror films might have been nominated, or people in horror films, or horror films that did get nominated. We're going to talk about them and see what the chances were that maybe something should have won or didn't win or whatever. We're going to have some people on for that tomorrow night with Gone with the Wind with Malcolm. Also, I'm on the Nerd Hero Network, or whatever it's called, with Jordan and Austin a lot. I've been taking a break from that because I'm just so slammed with reviews and screenings. Hopefully I get a chance to go to Miami this weekend and go to the Florida Film, the Miami Gems Film Festival, see a bunch of movies. So hopefully we'll have some coverage of that. Go on my website and you'll see my review of The Holdovers that I posted today.
Richie, where can people find you online?
You can find me doing trivia or talking about film while also trying to look after a 3-month-old puppy. I'm good at juggling. But you can find me tournament fights. Tournament fights. Yeah, exactly. Tier ranker. and I'll be on Why We Love Horror and John Marsden's show, where he makes panel watch like bad horror movies. I think it's called Snake Hotel, so that's coming up soon. We're just going to work out a date, so that's gonna be fun. I'm sure it's gonna be wacky because John Marr makes people watch wacky things. And then there'll be other trivia coming up here soon as well. So yeah, you can find me there. All good. Yeah.
Jonathan, we can people find you online.
Well, you can find me on my social media platforms, spooking people with my reviews on Letterboxd. Yes, at Cinecaro. And also on Instagram, on X, formerly known as Twitter, sometimes Facebook, because, I don't know, I may be haunting people with other stuff. And I be popping my skull on occasion, those last 2 days of the month. But also, you can find me. There's another match coming up. My match on Full Metal will be posted soon. With what do you think? No, this is not Tony Durso, by the way. No, this is not what happened. I'm facing Tony Durso in a great match, by the way. Don't miss that match. So yeah, you can find me there, and this is a great show talking about one of the greatest directors of all time.
Before I do my plays, Brian asked in the chat what made the original list of Scorsese, and I appreciate that's why I appreciate the fact that Dan often has a long lot of plugs that gave me a chance to go rewatch the ending of that and find out what the 12 of that last episode, and it was actually quite different. From 12 to 1, this is what the original ranking list of Scorsese movies was. At 12, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. At 11, Shutter Island. At 10, Silence. At 9, After Hours. At 8, Cape Fear. At 7, Taxi Driver. At 6
Wow, that's a lot.
At 6 was Raging Bull.
That's low.
Holy!
At 5 was The Aviator. At 4 was Wolf of Wall Street. At 3 was Goodfellas. At 2 was King of Comedy. And number 1 was The Departed.
Well, that is a
the ranking
on that list that weren't on our list.
bonkers. That's bonkers.
Yeah, of course it was.
Yeah.
But Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. I actually appreciate that.
I mean, it's one of those ones. Because once again, for whatever reason, it was also a 4-person panel. Because because it was me, Caleb Boatman, Tim Picala, and Cody Newberry on that one. So it just shows like it's one of those ones. It just shows like when you do readouts how a different panel can have a different list.
I mean, I like the list, but the rankings.
I wasn't allowed on that one, Jonathan, and I'm not going to get into reasons why. I was not allowed on that. Yeah, I'm not going to get into it.
I think I am.
No, don't worry. Don't not talk about.
No, but anyway, you can find me on Tape Productions. I host Rankum every week. Next week is going to be top 12 influential horror movies. And you can also find me hosting Full Metal. There'll be a match dropping this week. I might actually drop 2 because I'm actually way behind on actually releasing the matches because some weeks I just keep forgetting to drop it.
Is Full Metal Random coming back in 2024? Was that being pushed back?
I mean, at the moment, it's looking like it's definitely coming back 2024.
Okay.
But it's probably not. It's probably not going to be. I mean, I might do a special thing in December where I try to get 4 matches done once I've gotten the singles tournament out the way. But the match the match is dropping this week is Steve versus Maria. But I think I might also drop Austin Howe versus Jordan Huffman as well. Because as I said, I'm really behind on that, so I might start dropping 2 matches a week. But yeah, and you can find me popping up on the Movie Hero Network and that from time to time. And yeah,
Gone with the Wind.
yeah, and go for the win. We'll be talking Hohen tomorrow. John Maher's actually going to be the guest on that. And yeah, but that is the end of the show. And just remember, hug your loved ones because you never know what's going to happen in the future. And rest in peace, Matthew Perry. But
they'll be there for you.
yeah. But for that, I'm just going to end that like that.